And we're back at it again with another live one for all you Biconics YouTube fanatics out there. And welcome to the aptly renamed Los Gordos Locos, where your two big boys of the Biconics universe are going to walk you through this week's NXT. I am Mikey, one half of Los Gordos Locos, and as always, I am joined by my co-host, Will. Will, it is so happy to have you back again this week for another exciting NXT review, my friend.
Yes, there are some moments that I am excited to talk about, and then some moments that I am not excited to talk about.
Listen,
And then yes, and because I did my TED talk with you on text today, and I you know what's so funny, and we're going to get to that, but I discussed that with my acting class today. I actually was like, I saw an interesting acting exercise on a wrestling program.
oh my
And I'll tell you about it
gosh.
when we get to that moment. I'll tell you more about it. But
Oh,
yes.
I am so intrigued because this is new information live on the air, so to speak.
Yes.
So before we jump in straight head first into this week's NXT, this was an interesting episode because, as we discussed last week, just on paper alone, the matches that got announced, like I was wholeheartedly excited for. And I will say that most of those matches delivered for me that we got advertised that weren't in addition to what we got. But
Yep.
there was a lot of backstage and video segments that I kind of felt were a little all over the place. And then don't get me wrong, like I love the people who are involved in this. Some of these segments were a little weird. Some made me roll my eyes. Some made me question who was writing these. And then there were
Yeah.
some I was just like, yes, give it to me.
Uh-huh.
But
There's like random things that happen backstage. It was so
like,
random.
so this episode felt weird because the matches were on point, but normally the story and the writing that we get to see and the character developments we kind of see kind of took a backseat a little bit this week.
Yeah, it was unbalanced. I think because the last one was so well put together. Like the story flowed and everything kind of was content. All the continuity was there, and this time it was it was very patchy. That's all I can call. That's all I can say. It was very patchy. The balance was weird. Yeah, it was just odd. I keep telling Mikey, it's like this just feels odd to me. And he was like, in what way? And I was like, I don't know. It was just odd. I wasn't all like edge of my seat, like I think, and I think that has a lot to do with the way the story is told. I honestly believe that because the last time they had all that amazing stuff going on backstage, and it made sense to the matches that were happening, and it just sort of made the story flow, and so it kept me kind of like invested. And this was sort of like, okay, oh, okay, here we go. All right, cool. All right, yay. All right, match. All right, cool. Oh, it was an amazing match. And then it's like, oh, okay, all right. Okay, I got you. All right, moving on. Okay, it just felt weird. I just felt odd about it, and I hate that.
Yeah, this was definitely an interesting episode. We still enjoyed it, but we'll dive deeper into a lot of these moments because again, we are 2 weeks out from No Mercy, so obviously we're still building towards the matches. And we did get confirmed at least 4 matches that are happening at No Mercy. And a lot of my questions got answered between tonight and last week's NXT due to certain things. But who knows? We have 2 weeks, so we're going to get more matches, and who knows, stipulations and things might get added, and we may see some changes depending on what NXT wants to do. I will say I'm excited with what we currently have scheduled for the card because I think it's going to be great. We'll talk about one of those that we got confirmed for tonight because I'm like, okay, sure, why not?
All right, sure, why not? Let's do it.
Now, I like one of the wrestlers in that match a little bit better than the other, though my counterpart here may have some other opinions, which I'm excited to hear about. Because he, listen, if you're not, if only you, we can show the chat to all of you guys watching this review, because you get half the story here, and then you get all the juicy, hot gossip details in our text messages.
Yes, yes, indeed.
Ugh,
And you
I
get me
love it
going
so
on
much.
rants.
It is a beautiful thing. But without further ado, let's just get this started. I was very interested and I was kind of pleasantly surprised, but also kind of big old question mark appeared over my head. We opened up NXT this week with the number one contendership match to see who's going to face Carmelo at No Mercy between Wesley and Ilya Dragunov. I was like, listen, this match I already knew was going to rule, and it
Mm-hmm.
did. But I was surprised that we put it this early in the card.
Yeah, me too. I'm sorry, but it's like they shot their load early. This should have been much later on because this match, it was all that I thought it was going to be. It really was. It was all I thought it was going to be. And huzzah to Ilya and Wes for putting on a hell of a show because it was a hell of a show. I mean, just wow. But
It
I think it came too early. I really do. I think they shouldn't have opened with that. I mean, I was kind of amazed they opened with a title match. To be honest,
or at
see,
least yeah for contendership.
you
Yeah,
know,
this was
yeah, well, that's what I
interesting.
mean. I would, I think I would have. I know the match I would have opened with, but I'll talk about it when we get to it. But I think that this wasn't the right match to open it with. I mean, because yeah, it's a contender match. Why would you don't do that? No, 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 no. Later, later.
We'll
Maybe the
talk about it a
third.
little bit later, but I would have actually put this match to close out hour one if I'm going to be honest, because
Mm-hmm.
the women's title match closed out the episode and hour two. So I would
Yeah,
have
I
put
would have.
this match like towards the end of hour one, beginning of hour two, so that way the crowd's like, oh, that was a crazy match. And then everything that followed afterward, it would been a nice slow build up to the main
Yeah,
event for the women's
agreed.
because
I agree
you
with you.
start because this episode you started with a banger, you ended with a banger, but then it was kind of bookended between with stuff that
Yeah,
was pretty
yeah.
good too. It
It
was
was
all right.
good, but it was more mushy in the middle.
It's
Like
like a
It's like an
really
Oreo.
it's like a Oreo or a really poorly made s'more. Like it's still delicious
Yeah,
to eat, but
yeah,
somebody overcooked the
yeah,
marshmallow. The chocolate got left in the hot sun, so it's already
yeah.
melted a
Melted.
little
Yeah, it's
bit.
messy in the middle. Yeah, it's very messy in the middle.
But
I agree.
my
But
goodness,
this match though, let's
my
talk about it. Let's talk about it because
they did not
holy
let
shit,
up. It was
nope.
literally a back and forth the entire time.
It really was. It was
And this is
such a
the
beautiful match. It was
it
so
was.
beautiful.
It was so beautiful. I wish I could have seen the full picture. Listen, NXT, this match should not have gone to picture in picture for whatever reason.
No,
And I was
no.
upset.
I was too. I was just like, what the hell? What the hell?
Like
It's like,
looking at my television screen, all eyes up and everything. I was
oh,
just like,
so
no,
mad.
this is not the match to do picture in
No,
picture.
no, I
No.
agree. God Almighty, yeah, I know, I agree.
But
There was
oh
a
my god.
just. I love that there was that moment when West launched himself over that corner. I was just like, I mean, these guys were not playing. I mean, these guys. One of them was walking out of that ring, and the other one was going to crawl out. I mean, that is truly how it came off. I mean, I love both of these wrestlers. They are like in my top. And I was both excited and saddened to see this match. Um, because I just like both of them. I just really do. I like Ilya's sort of like animalistic, but yet gentlemanly sort of demeanor. He's very much like, well, he's very Russian, to be honest. It's that, it's like he's really calm, and yet that he almost has like a sinister vibe to him. And then Wes is my good boy. I mean, he's like, he just wants to. He just wants to matter. That's the thing, and that's what breaks my heart about it. That
Wesley broke my heart this episode.
Yes, he did.
He broke my heart, and we will talk about it when we get to the end, because I'm like,
God, I know. Mm-mm.
But oh my goodness, some of my favorite moments in this match. The moment that really kicked off was like, oh god, this is about to get more violent, isn't it? Is that when both Ilya and Wes were on the floor, and then Ilya German suplexes Wes into the announcer's desk? It's like, bam! I was like, oh. Listen, the table was strong this episode.
It was.
It did not break whatsoever.
It did not. That's what's so funny, and it was well used in this episode.
We'll talk about the table a little bit more during the main event, because I was like, I think Becky needs to check her booty cheeks, because listen.
Yeah, seriously.
Listen.
Man.
So I was like, oh, okay, so this is going to get more violent, isn't it? And sure enough, it just went nuts. Did. So as soon as that table spot happened, we go to commercial, and I yelled at my screen. I'm like, hurry up, commercials, get it out of the way. I was like, you're teasing me. It's not fair. We literally come back from commercial, and literally hell breaks loose. So powerbomb, reversed into a Hurricane Rana for a close arm. We got forearms all over the place. Super kick, boots, double stomp, a Spanish fly. The Spanish fly is one of my favorite moves right now. I love it so much. A cardiac kick by Wes attempt that got blocked, reversed into a tornado DDT, and then a tope con giro for oh my gosh. And then, of course, the ultimate finisher from Ilya. It takes him a bit, and he staggers, but that hammering fist headbutt and like struggling to roll over Wes for Ilya to pick up the win. My God, this match was brutal, and I loved every single minute of it.
Yes, indeed, man. And and I figured that Ilya was going to win this. I did. I figured, because I didn't think, or not. I didn't think. I was thinking that they're doing something with Wes. I don't know what it is yet, but they are doing something with him, and I think that I think it's one of those, and this is what I hope it is. I hope it's one of those. He's lost, and so he's just sort of like, I give up, I quit, or whatever, and walks away, and then suddenly comes back strong, or something. I really hope that's what it is, because, I mean, when Ilya won this match, Wes just looked defeated. And this is where my feels started kicking in, because all I wanted to do was go and give him a hug. That's all I wanted to do. I was like, oh, Wes, I'm sorry, come here. Wow, thumbs up to Ilya. It's like, oh, sorry, baby. Hey, good job. It's like...
It's like when it's literally like your two children made it to the finals, and you're going to have to console one of them and cheer for the other.
And congratulate the other one. Yeah, and that's exactly what it felt like. And I was so happy for Ilya, because I really, 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 really want Ilya to destroy Carmelo. I really do. Whether it happens or not, we'll see in 2 weeks. But I really, really want him to destroy Carmelo.
Well, since we're talking about Carmelo, because as soon as this match is over, Carmelo comes out as like most of these number one contendership matches happen, and he comes out and stays a safe distance away, holding up the championship, acknowledging that him and Ilya are going to throw down. Listen, I would have liked to see Wes take on Carmelo at No Mercy, but the fact that these two threw down and had a 5-star match at Great American Bash in July, I am ready for the sequel, and I hope it's just as crazy.
Me too. I am so. Would I have loved to have seen Wes fight Carmelo? Absolutely. Because I want to see Wes redeem himself. I do. I really do. It's one of the things on my list. Wes needs to redeem himself. But man, I really want to see Ilya destroy him.
Mm-hmm.
I really do, because I'm just to that point where I don't like Carmelo. And the reason I don't like him is because not just because I just don't like him. Literally, he's like a whiny bitch. I have never in my life. I mean, seriously, all up until recently, he's all been boo hooey, asterisks on my record, asterisk this, asterisk that. I'm like, would you shut up? You have the belt. Who cares? So he just whined the whole time. So I was like, you know what? And then we had that when he came into the ring and did the whole, hey, why don't you two fight it out? I was like, why are you here? Go away. We don't need you. You just need to show up for the pay per view and just shut up until then. I mean, truly. And then he did. He came out and he's all like, hey. I'm like, shut up. Just, now you're going to be all badass because, okay, screw you, dude. I hope Ilya eats your lunch. I really do. And then sells it to people. I don't care.
Oh my
I
god.
hate him. I just hate that character so much that I really want, and I want Ilya to destroy him so that Wes can be a little vindicated as well. Just, out of the, yeah, that's a kick his ass, Ilya. But I just really want to see Ilya whoop his ass at this event. Just to shut him up. I just want him to shut up.
That is very fair. And you know what? We shall see what
Yes,
happens.
we shall.
I'm excited for the match at No Mercy, and I'm interested to see what we do with this build for the next 2 weeks.
Me too.
But Ilya,
I will say though. Go ahead, and I'll say mine next.
Yeah. So Ilya has gotten back number one contendership. He has a rematch of Destiny against Carmelo. I would love to see Ilya take the title, but we'll just wait and see until No Mercy and see if what happens. So, what were you gonna say?
If Ilya doesn't win, I quit.
I'm gonna keep a counter and be like, this is the second time that Will has threatened to quit on me. No, I just found you as a co-host. Don't make me go back to reviewing this by myself.
No, of course not. I'm just kidding. Well, I'm not really kidding, but
don't worry. There will be a lot of emotional support texting behind the scenes.
Yes, that's totally fair. So yeah, this was a fantastic match. God, it was amazing.
This is again, I think part of the problem with this episode too is, for me personally, I was like, the amount of emotional whiplash you guys are throwing at me all at once, because we go from this adrenaline-filled match, and then we get serious because we get a recap of what happened last week, where Braun Breaker potentially committed manslaughter on my television screen, at least. And, we show the aftermath, and good job on the video production team for getting shots of the audience.
Yeah. Yep.
I think. See, I like the underlying story thread that this video package told, but okay. So again, when you're acting, you gotta prompt yourself sometimes when to make yourself believe something. And I was just like, as much as this video package sold the recap, and I do feel for Vaughn as a character from what happened, I don't know. I was watching this and I was like, okay. I was just like, how much of production told the audience, okay, this is what's happening. I need you to go nuts, things like that. And so I was like, I shouldn't be evil. This is a wrestling television. I shouldn't be looking at this underneath the microscope. But then I was like,
no,
I don't know how. I'm like, I was like, I smell production's hand in some of this, but I'm gonna let it go. And I was like, all right, because the blood effect and the picture we got that they posted last week of Vaughn bandaged up as everything, I was like, okay, I will let it slide. So we get an update from Vic Joseph, who is all serious. He apologized for cursing last week on television, and we got an update that Von Wagner suffered a minor skull fracture. And then we get reiterated because of the real life fusion surgery that Vaughn had as a child in his skull. I was just like, See, to me, I was a little worried. I was like, "Ooh, I hate when real life like traumatic injuries and trauma gets used as storylines." But I feel like okay, I can get behind this one. This one's not as vulgar, and WWE is not exploiting it to a level where I'm like, I got to turn off my television. It didn't make me feel icky. But what did make me feel icky, I was like, this next segment was so boring. It went on for too long. And listen, I am unapologetically a fan of Braun Breaker. I don't know what direction we're going with this version of Braun because, listen, and I think I think Braun was channeling Rick Steiner, who is his papa, his daddy. Like he is a Steiner kid. And I was like, oh, the Steiners are taking over his body, and this is making me question a lot of things. So Baron Corbin comes down, and okay, I will admit this started off pretty okay. It started off pretty okay because Baron he gets serious real quick, and he's like, listen, I was just like, what happened last week was nuts. And I don't like Vaughn, but I was like, oh, if he says, but what happened was crazy and nobody should go, and I was like, okay, redeem yourself. But no, then he doubled down on being the asshole that he is. And he's just like, that shit was awesome. I was like, damn it, Baron. We almost had it there. And then Braun, he calls out Braun Breaker. He comes out. The two have like an awkward exchange, enjoying in the revelry that is the sadness and destruction of Von Wagner's overall health and physical ailments and stuff like that, and they were laughing about it. And then it took a weird ass turn where where they started getting mad at each other, throwing insults at each other, and then. But let me tell you, security was MVP because they were on this. They didn't even throw a first punch. They got in each other's faces, and security was on it. They're like, nope, we're not having this tonight. Absolutely not. This went on a little too long, and I love Braun, but bro, this was not your best mic work. Like he, I don't know what it was, and maybe Will, you could explain it to me. I don't know the official term, but it's like Braun was kind of like he was trying to banter back and forth with Baron, but he picked the wrong moments to like interject at certain parts. And I was like, this is kind of throwing me off. It's not as fluid as I like it to be.
Mm-hmm. This is my TED Talk.
And now here is your TED Talk with
This,
with Professor William. You have the
yes,
floor.
this is my TED Talk. This is the long text messages that I was sending to Mikey about this bit. First of all, I was like, oh god, Baron Corbin, stop giving him a damn mic. Plain and simple. Until he goes and takes acting lessons, stop giving him a damn mic. He also needs to take elocution lessons, and he needs to take a public speaking class. Because Jesus Christ. Like, the minute he opened his mouth, I literally exhaled and rolled my eyes. Because it's like, and this whole exchange, and I was telling Mikey that I said, what is this? And then I was like, dumb is what it is. Dumb. It is dumb. This whole thing, we could have done without it. I mean, and it would not have changed anything that happened before it or after it. Truly. It literally had nothing to do with anything other than what happened last week. You could have done this in a video package. This did not need to be live on a mic for two men who were talking like they had rocks in their mouths and they all took stupid pills before they walked out there. Because both of them sounded like uneducated, unintelligible idiots. And I was just like, and I was so bored, just like Mikey said. It was so boring. Even the fight at the end was boring. I'm just like, what was that? I mean, and then I was telling. I'm going to pull up the messages because I've got to pull them because I went off because I just didn't. I mean, I gotta find it because it was literally is like I was like, why do they let him speak? This is dumb. Mikey says, LOL. And then I was like, too long. And then Mikey's like, it did drag out a bit. And then I said, I literally don't care about either of them. Nothing redeemable about either one of them. And then Mikey was like, kind of the point, LOL. And I was like, yes, but, and this is where I go on my TED Talk. I was like, yes, but there has to be, and this is coming from a theater or an acting standpoint, as an audience member. There has to be something that, as an audience member, I care about. Whatever it is. Doesn't matter. It could be Corbin has a moment of, oh, ha ha ha, what you did, Devon, but that was kind of way past the line, dude, so I'm going to have to correct you and put you in your place. I would have been like, absolutely, there we go. That's my latch. You got me. But no. None of that was happening. None of that. It was literally the two of them basically talking to hear themselves talk. And I was like, and I mentioned earlier, I actually mentioned this moment in my acting class. Because I told my class, I was like, we're going to go around and we're going to talk about a moment that we saw either on television, a movie, in real life, whatever. That was an example of an acting exercise. This is an acting exercise. Poorly done, but an acting exercise nonetheless. And the reason I say it's poorly done is because what you had in front of you is two villains. Not bad guys, villains. Because villains don't care if they kill people or hurt them or injure them in serious ways. And there was nothing redeemable about either of them. As an audience member, I need to have something to hold on to. I need to know that one of these men, yeah, he may be talking about killing somebody, but there's something redeemable about them. And the way they were portraying these two characters, there was nothing redeemable. So as an audience member, I don't care. Y'all can go and kill each other in the parking lot. And then we can move on to the good stuff. Because right now, and I'm going to say it out loud, I don't even think their fight's going to be all that great. It might be all like looking good because of production value, but I don't think it's going to be that great. I really don't. And I like Braun Breaker. I do. I mean, but I don't think it's going to be all that because there's nothing redeemable about it. It's literally just going to be two dudes beating each other up for no damn reason except to beat each other up. And so I'm just like, I just need something. You got to give me something to cheer for. Because I mean, you're two bad guys. Why should I cheer for you? You know, give me something. I need empathy. That's what I need. I need some sort of empathic connection here. And I didn't get any of that. I literally was in my office. My students were sitting in the room right outside my office. And I was like, I literally out loud was like, I don't care if either of you die right now. My students were all like, looking at my door. And I was like, oh, sorry, I'm watching wrestling. And they were like, oh, okay, good. As they had the worried look in their face. But I didn't, because they didn't give me anything. They didn't give me anything to hold on to. And I already don't like Baron Corbin anyway, because I think he's a jerk. And like undeservedly so. Like, you haven't earned shit, dude. You know, stop being a prick. And at first I thought I was gonna have something. Because when he was at the beginning, you're right. When he was all like, oh, this horrible thing that happened. And I was like, okay. And then find out it was a big joke. Then I was like, alrighty. So, and then Braun comes out, and then they have this exchange that went on, like we said, way too long. And I was literally like, I don't care about you. I don't care about either. I literally don't care who wins their match. I literally don't care. You know, it's like, I mean, I'll write about it when we watch it, but I'd be like, I really don't care who wins. And I hate that. I hate that I don't care. but they didn't give me anything to care about. So thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
And this has been your weekly NXT TED Talk from Professor Will of Los Gordos Locos. Thank you.
Exactly. See, yeah. So I don't care.
We
It was
have
dumb.
talked ad nauseum about this. We can move on because I may have.
Yeah. Well,
I
you can
like.
talk about it too. You rebuttal.
I
It's
mean,
okay.
you pretty much said everything that I felt. I am also of the same mindset as you. I'm a big fan of Braun. Of course, when this iteration of NXT came to be, him and Carmelo are the staples. Like they carried this iteration of NXT from the ground up. So I love Braun. My biggest issue is that the direction that we have gone with him, and I'm not expecting him to jump back into the title picture anytime soon for him and Carmelo because that match is going to be fire when we get to it. I just, if with Braun going heel, I love him being a heel. I just don't like the feuds and the directions that we have gone with him. I honestly don't think he needed to be in a program with Von Wagner and the very homoerotic statement that is he's about to get tabled. God, I hope you're right, and they know that that's what it means, and this is an elaborate joke, and I would love it. But
Yes.
I don't like, I don't like this feud with Baron either because again, you can have a heel on heel feud,
Oh yeah.
but it needs to be about like the hook needs to be something other than we're just gonna have a slap fight and now I hate you because I
Yeah.
think I'm bigger and badder. I was just like, there are better ways to do this. Not and in story wise, like I hate the motivation of hey, we're gonna fight each other to see who's bigger and badder. And I was like, Baron, you don't have a leg to stand on. Like you talk about ending, Kurt Angle's career, which he did on the main roster because he retired Kurt Angle, which is crazy to me. But um, yeah, I mean, Braun kind of has the edge in on that ground because he literally he committed manslaughter on the television screen. Like, come on. Like retiring somebody and committing a crime on television is two different things. I hated that direction. I I just don't like this feud. I hope they surprise me and the wrestling at No Mercy is going to be fun. But this is the one match at No Mercy so far that I am the least interested in from a story writing perspective. I'm like, okay, I think I hope Braun wins just because I'm like, all right, let's move him on to something bigger and better. These are the times I wish that Grayson Waller was still in NXT because throw Braun and Grayson in a feud. Like that's heel on heel, but make Braun the likable heel because Grayson's good at being a shitty heel. Like I just don't like this matchup, and I that is my TED talk. I don't want to talk about this anymore.
Okay, I'm going to say one more thing about it, and it's not
Go
nothing
for it.
about the two of them. Why is it that poor Von Wagner is all skull fractured and recovering in hospital, and Braun got a slap on the wrist and a fine? I was like, I'm sorry. When Corbin's like, I was going to pay your fine, and I'm like, I honestly am just sort of after watching that brutality at the beginning of this before Corbin started talking. I was just like, why are you still here? I mean, honestly, if you think about it, he
Seriously.
literally tried to kill that man. Why are you still here? I was just the whole
That's
time.
I was like, homeboy is getting a match against, Baron at No Mercy. I'm like, okay, sure, fine. But you are absolutely right. And then I thought something more serious was going to happen with Braun in terms of his consequence because in the video recap package, I forgot to mention that Shawn Michaels came out and yelled at him. I was like, bro, bro. I don't know. Again, I hope they surprise me at No Mercy, but I am over it.
Yep. And I'll say it again, and then we can move on. I don't care who wins their match.
Honestly, me neither.
Just get it over
After,
with.
yep,
Move
yep,
on.
get it done and over with. And we're moving on to our next segment. Okay, the emotional whiplash hit me hard this one because
Yeah.
I was lied to, I was bamboozled. I
I was
would
betrayed. I just, oh.
I got stood up. I got ghosted, as the kids say.
Yep.
I was so upset. So next up, we had this quick match between
Oh,
Josh Briggs, Brooks Jensen, teaming up with Miles Bourne. For the last couple weeks, Fallon, who is with Josh and Brooks, like she was genuinely caring for him. Not like I mean, there could have been romantic like feelings there, but she literally was looking for his best interest and like cared for him and was like, hey, you don't like good old the good southern country girl that she is like, you don't deserve to be treated like that, hun, and everything. I was just like, yes, give me more. And they were taking on Drew Gulak, Charlie Dempsey still needed a haircut, and Damon Kent. And then
Lord.
I thought this was gonna go one way, but this match only lasted like 3 minutes because Miles tore my heart out.
I
And
know.
he betrayed the country boys and Fallon. I was upset at Miles. I'm hoping this is all a ploy by Miles to get into the inner circle and dismantle them from the inside. But
Because
right now,
can I
my heart hurts.
say the moment that he had when he pulled what's her name out of the way of that move. What is her name again? Oh my god!
Fallon.
Thank you. Well, it's like my brain keeps forgetting her name. So he pulls her out of the way, and they have a look between each other, and not a oh hey baby let's make out look, but a something look. So I'm like, did they plan something? That's kind of what it makes me feel like. And now that may just be my heart wanting to like find a reason for it, but
It's like I believe in love, I swear.
I just it something didn't feel right in the bamboozle. That was my whole thing. But it could be very well. It could be legit. He could have been setting him up the whole time, and to prove that he's some sort of that he's a heel basically. But I don't know. There could be something. I mean,
That is very, very
as
true.
I drink out of my rainbow straw.
And now that I think about it, because I explained to Will, I was like, you pretty much met all the tag teams through the segment we got last week with the team in the Diamond Dojo, except there was one tag team that didn't have their entrance, who you got to see tonight, which was the Country Boys, Josh Briggs and Brooks Jensen. I was like, just you wait. Listen, Josh, the taller one, I was like, Lord have mercy, sir,
I do
ma'am.
love me some country boys. I do indeed enjoy myself a redneck every so often. It's good to diversify your palate. And a good redneck is a good palate cleanser. Truly, a good bouquet of redneck is a great palate cleanser. And yes, either of them would do. I mean, truly, because there's nothing I like more than a man in like nice fitting jeans and a pair of boots. I mean, I'm from Texas. What do you expect? But
That is very true.
yeah,
But
that was the first
man,
time I had met them like in that type of thing. So I was like, oh, all right.
we need
But
to find a
yeah,
Patreon exclusive of just Will's facial expressions watching these things. Be like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? Oh, hello there.
yeah, it was. I was so like, oh, when their entrance, I was like, because again, like I said, I had never seen them in a match or anything. I think because we've only seen her. Yeah, she's the only. We've never actually seen them together. And they made their entrance in this one, and I was just like, oh, hello. I got closer to the screen. I was like scrutinizing those jeans, baby. So it was all nice and snug. You could bounce quarters off of that.
And
Yeah.
that has
Anyway,
been Will's Thirst Corner, part one.
yeah,
So we'll
sorry.
probably see it
I
more
may
as
be
this
in.
evening goes on.
I may be imbibing a little bit too much. So
Listen, never be afraid to be. You bring the big G to the Biconics, you see. And
yeah.
that is okay. Listen, we all ogle our wrestlers here. That is Any
Indeed,
wrestling fan that does not ogle their wrestlers, whether it be men,
they're
women,
doing it wrong.
non-binary, you're doing
You're
this
doing
wrong
it
as a
wrong.
fan. Because come on,
Yes,
these are good-looking men, women, non-binary
yes.
folks, and everything in between.
Even the ones that I don't find attractive, I find attractive in
It
some
is
way.
amazing.
Like Butch. Butch is Butch is not the prettiest flower in the garden,
But man, he talked
but
tonight. I was just like,
his personality and his charisma
oh my
and
gosh. We'll talk
I,
about that little
ooh
promo he had
Lord.
because I was like, it's been a long time since you had a promo and you talk. I was like, yes, I
Mm-hmm.
love it. It's great. But yeah, Miles broke my heart because he allowed Drew, Charlie, and David to get the win here in such a short match. Like I said, I hope this is a ploy for Miles to dismantle them from the inside. But what made it worse for me is the betrayal was bad. But then the cameraman, you're dirty for this. They did the camera shot of Fallon's facial expression, and she legit looked like somebody took her heart out, stomped on it, like rubbed dirt in it, shot it a couple times, bandaged it back up, and then shot it again for good
Yep.
measure.
Just for shits and giggles. Yeah.
She looked so distraught. I was just
Oh,
like, A plus on the character work, girl.
yeah. Well, then she's also got to feel bad because she like brought him over there.
And
Like
she,
she brought
yeah,
him.
she brought him in, and then she allowed her boys to meet him, and they were cool. Listen, if we get a feud out of this, I'm cool with that.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. I hope this causes something because it needs to.
Okay, so next we're gonna talk about this Chase U vignette because overall I enjoyed this little segment, but this is where my issue with the script writers came into play a little bit, which we'll dig into. So we open up, so we start with Chase U like at the university. So Andre Chase and Duke Hudson and the rest of them are having a class. And then as soon as class is over, Andre tells Duke, is like, have you been checking in on Thea like I asked? I don't know where she is. Like, I still don't like that she's hanging out with JC. So, Duke, I need you before you go to this watch along party for the Global Heritage Invitational. I need you to check. And Duke, I love Duke's like stupid himboism. He's just like, I was like, he loves Thea, but he's out here focusing on this tournament to go to No Mercy. I was like, as you should. I mean, it's a big title opportunity to go against Noam Dar. He's like, oh, I know where she is, and is also his very Aussie accent. I'm like, hey, Duke, how? Um, but he's like, oh yeah, I have Thea's location on. He checks the phone. He's like, uh-oh,
Because we're
Thea,
besties. She says we're besties.
we're besties. I love it.
He's all like, I think that means best friends.
I'm like, you are such a himbo. I love you.
I know.
But then
He's
he checks
so
his
he's
phone.
so
Yeah.
hard to not like. That's what's so funny.
Seriously. Listen, I love Duke Hudson in this iteration of his role as kind of like the selfish face. Like he's a good guy, but honestly, I can't be mad at his priorities right now. But then he checks his phone and then it's just like Thea's location cannot be found. I'm like, what is happening? Where's JC doing? And then we kind of find out Thea did it herself. She turned off the location on her phone. And
That
then
was funny.
JC was like, listen, I want JC to be my wing woman. Like
I freaking love her.
I love this iteration of JC. She's like, girl, like, are you sure you're and you know what? I like this. It wasn't like, yes, let me steal you away from the boy. She's like, girl, are you sure you want to do that? Like, listen, I have issues with Andre and Duke, but it's like, are you sure you want to be turning off your location? And Thea's like, yeah, I'm sure. I was like, you go, Thea. You make your decision. As we'll hear you later say as you're beating up these boys. It's like, I'm a grown ass woman. I make my own decisions. And so then this turns into like this is really awkward, like boys trying to pick up girls scene. And this is where my issue with the writing came up. I was just like, listen, these are grown ass adults that are saying these things. I was like, what are we? I was like, this is not high school. This is not a high school drama class. Like the script writing is horrible coming from these boys. I was like, it's creepy. It's like not smart, but there are better ways to write stupid boys who are trying to pick up on girls, if that makes any sense than what we got. Though I did appreciate that JC without even saying it, she's like, "Hold my earrings, hang on." And then her and Thea decided, you know what, you boys are losers. And then they started to beat the shit out of them.
Yep.
Again, I love Thea, and this is like, I'm a grown ass woman. I can make my own decisions. Kick him in the nuts.
Yeah, that was great. And I love this version of her.
Yes, I do too.
And I love whatever this is with her and JC. I love this. I don't know what it is. I don't know where it's leading, whether it's somewhere good or somewhere bad. But I love whatever this is, and I'm here for every time the two of them are on the screen. I'm like, what's up, you two? What's going on? And I love I love at the end of it when she's like, I'm tired of like looking like this. We're gonna go shopping.
Literally next week, she's like, we're gonna go shopping next week. And
I'm like, oh,
we are getting so close. I just need JC to roll up in a car up to Thea's house. It's like, get in, loser. We're going shopping.
Exactly.
I swear if we get a Mean Girls reference at some point within the next couple weeks, I'll be like, best tag team, 10 out of 10. No arguments here.
Yep. And I am totally here. I'm totally on board for a Thea and JC tag team. I am here for it. I hope they go and they create some kind of badass girls club and just, Thea changes her whole look, which I'm super excited to see next week. I really, really want something good to come from this. I don't want this to be a double cross. I really don't want this to be something like, I literally want this to be we are so much alike. Why are we not working together? That's what I want this to be. I want this to be girls united. Let's kick some ass.
Especially because of the fact that, I at first was hesitant of JC's like intentions when we first got that first interaction. But now that we've had a couple of weeks of this, I was like, oh man, JC, I love you, girl. Like, please, I want them to. I hate the trope in wrestling where girls like can't be friends. They gotta turn and hate on each other. And I was like, please let them actually be friends in this one.
Yeah,
I would love it more than anything.
I really hope this is a legit thing. Because I agree with you. I'm so tired. And we see it still, even now in NXT, that, girls are having conversations, other girls walk in, and next thing you know, they're all fighting each other. And it's like, stop.
There are ways to do girls fighting without throwing fists, and we actually got one of those later in the show.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do.
Listen, my Latino heart was so happy. And we'll talk about it because I was just like, listen, I got 3 Latinas on my screen are about to throw down.
Okay, yes, and I have not met these two yet. This is the first time I've met these two as well.
Yes, as far as backstage promos go. Oh my goodness. We'll talk about that in a little bit. So, again, this next match was fun, even though it was short. We have, Dana Brooke is right now is like heading for a mental breakdown, and I'm kind of here for it. But she takes on one of my personal favorites in NXT right now, Lyra Valkyria. God, I'd love her. I'd love her entrance, and I love her feather coat costume thing. I was like, girl, we are one Norse necklace away from Norse mythology, and I'm here for it. Literally let her be a Valkyrie. Like, that's literally her wrestling character, and I'm fucking here for it, and I'd love it.
I want her to come in on a horse.
God, yes.
I would be like, that's my girl. That's my girl.
Listen.
Because I love her. I've loved her ever since I first saw her.
Yep. This match, while short, was a lot of fun, and it served a purpose. I mean, Dana got a good chunk of the offense towards the first half, but then, of course, Lyra came back and does her Lyra thing, and then picks up the victory here. So the match itself was fine, and I enjoyed it. But everything that happened afterwards has me more intrigued. So Dana's kind of upset she lost, but she's like, you know what? She shakes Lyra's hand and like does it sarcastically. But I was like, okay, Dana's upset, but you know what? She did do the sportsmanship thing. And then, as soon as Lyra turns around to leave, again, There are blocking moments in this scene that I thought were beautiful.
Oh yeah.
And so as Lyra is turned away and she's like heading out of the through the ropes, Dana tries to go and grab her from behind to beat her up, and then Kaylani steps in, and then Lyra doesn't even turn all the way to see what's happening. She pauses. She looks like at the entrance ramp for a couple seconds, thinks about it, and then turns around as as Dana goes crazy and it's just like, oh, this was a great match. And then Lyra is just like one eyebrow raised. She's like, okay. And what I loved is that Lyra's like, I'm gonna exit, but I'm gonna keep looking at you just to make safe. And then as soon as she got to the floor, then she turned and started going up the ramp. I loved how Lyra played this. Is like, girl, you crazy. I need to get out
Yep.
of here.
Yeah, it's like,
But
bye.
Dana is losing her mind, and I'm here. I
Uh
was like, homegirl almost literally grabbed Lyra and
huh.
but
I
you
mean,
know what? I love that Kaylani's like, what are we doing?
oh my god, it was so fun, and then when Lara turned around and she was like turned slowly around, and then it was
The
just like
facial
and she's
expression.
like, I was like, oh my god, what is going on right now? It was so fun. It was a fun act at the end. It was super fun.
I love the slow descent into madness that we're getting with Dana, and I'm excited to see how much more crazy she decides to get.
Me
Then,
too.
you know, So my little heart pitter pattered for this next announcement because we got word that coming soon to NXT, because it's almost that time of year, is the NXT Women's Breakout Tournament, where it is nothing but a women's tournament. And just like last year's, which we'll see from our winner last year, Roxanne won that tournament, and the winner gets a championship match of their choosing down the line. And I'm just like, yes! I listen, women's tournament, the NXT Breakout Women's Tournament is my favorite thing because it's women's matches and we pretty much get women's wrestling throughout this tournament. And I believe, if I remember correctly, last year, like a good chunk of the episodes were nothing but women's matches and some men matches were thrown in. And listen, I am here for women takeovers, like seriously. And so I'm excited for this tournament. So we'll be getting that soon and we'll start to be getting the brackets for it soon. And then we continue into, for me personally, it kept going because then my man Eddie Thorpe was on my screen once again. I had to pause because I was just like, I need a moment. But I really like this interview that Eddie did with Mackenzie. Mackenzie's like, "So Eddie, it's thank you for giving me your time. I need to ask you. So you've had a hard time, but your focus seems to be that is on Dijak. What can you say about that?" And I love this short little promo that Eddie gave before Dijak kind of interrupted on the video screen backstage. He's like, "Listen, it's just like it's expected that I'm going to be facing adversity, but you can never plan ahead for a snake like Dijak. If it's not one thing, it's another. And if he thinks it's the last of it, it's not over." And then, right on cue, Dijak comes onto the screen. And for me personally, this is the right way to kind of have that weird borderline. Be like, oh, are you about to cross the line? Because Dijak was on Eddie's sacred land. And if you know anything about Eddie as the actual person, he is Native American. And of course, Native American tribes, most of them have reservations that are only reserved for them, but they also treat it with such exalt and respect and all that stuff because, it is sacred ground for the indigenous people. And then fucking Dijak's over here being disrespectful, saying some shit. Will, like, he wasn't, slinging like derogatory names, things like that. But what he said is like, So what's so special about this place? It's like apparently you coming. This is where you come when you eat a loss, right, Eddie? I don't see anything special. Did the spirits abandon you? I'm like, oh my god, Dijak, we are so close to being blasphemous on television about indigenous people. And I was like, oh God, WWE, please don't go too far with this. Now, this next part was silly, but honestly, I think it was the most tasteful way to be disrespectful, if that makes any sense, to Eddie's like wrestling
Yeah.
character as a culture, kind of, because nature is very sacred. So then he takes the belt and starts beating up this tree, which I had to pause and laugh my ass off because it was ridiculous. I was like,
Yes. Yes.
but damn. And Eddie, I'll end with this and then we'll dive into it. The video ends, and then Eddie's just like, we're gonna have to pick this up later, Mackenzie. As he leaves, it's like, oh, Eddie's about to go beat Dijak's ass, and I'm kind of here for it.
Oh yeah, me too. I was
All
totally
right,
there for it.
all right, let's talk about this, Will, because I was like,
Okay.
ooh, girl.
I was like, okay. At first I was like, oh, is this where you go to when blah, 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 blah. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Okay, all right, whatever. This is before he crossed this is before he stepped on the line. And so I was like, okay, that makes, and to me, it's like, oh, look, I found your little seclusion spot and I'm going to rip it all up, blah, 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 which would have been like, oh, okay. But then when he said, did your spirits abandon you? I was like, where are we going with this?
Me
And then
too.
the camera like zooms out and you're like, what is about to happen? And then he pulls out that belt and then starts whipping that tree. And of course, now the whipping the tree was hilarious. I'm not gonna lie.
Yes.
Only because he looked like a complete and utter idiot doing it.
And what he was saying while he was doing it, I was like, this is the saddest like BDSM I have ever seen in my life.
Yeah, it was like, okay. But then I was like,
but the symbolism behind that, though,
and it's twofold. It's twofold. Mm-hmm. Not only is it because Native Americans are very nature based, but it was a whipping tree. I was like, to me, I think that was a little bit over the line. I think he was at first he was sort of like teetering on it. And then when he started whipping the tree, first I laughed because he looked like a fucking idiot. But then after I composed because I had to pause it, and then I was like, okay, let me take it back and watch it again. So I watched it again, and then I was just like, ooh, ooh, ooh. And then the tree thing happened, and I was like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh my god. I was like, he is whipping that tree. He's not just hitting the tree, he's whipping that tree. And now this may not be what he was intending, but that is how it read to me. And to me, and then this is just, again, as a professor, as an educator, to me, that was very much like I didn't actually do my homework. Because if I was playing that wrestling character, never once would I pull anything out and whip a tree with it. Especially when it deals with like either Native Americans or African Americans or any other non-white people that, back in the day, white people like to beat on. And so I was very like, oh my God. I even rewound it again. And I had one of my African American students come into my office to watch it. I was like, I want you to watch this, and then I want you to tell me what you think. He's like, all right. So I play it, and then I stopped it after that sequence, and I turned and I went, well, he was like, that was wrong, man. That was wrong. And I was like, thank you. That's all I needed. Thank you very much. I'm like, I think it was a poor choice. I think there were other things he could have done to disrespect nature than that. Because that, I literally have nope written in my notes. I was like, nope. And what the fuck? And you disrespectful bitch, basically. And I'm like, too far. Too far. I mean, burn a bush or something. Don't be whipping a tree. Make it at night. What the hell are you doing, dude?
Listen,
You went out there at night and did it?
The implications. I'm just like, now, okay. And I want to make this very, very clear, because obviously, you know, whether it's Dijak himself, or, you know, the creative writing team, or whoever, like, somebody didn't do their homework, because I appreciate you giving that insight, because that's exactly how I felt too. You know, after initially getting over the laughter of how stupid the physicality was of him hitting the tree with his belt, but I'm just like, what makes, and I didn't want to say like I was 100% uncomfortable, like, oh God, I need to turn off my television. But like, it's like you said, it was poor choice, because it came off really, really bad. And with Eddie being an actual Native American, like in real life, and like being an actual like tribe member as well, I'm just like, okay. Now, here again, that was a poor choice. But I think, even though I have my gripes with this, I think I will come to, I don't want to say appreciate it, because appreciate sounds wrong.
Yeah,
but if this is the catalyst for Eddie to just be like, all right, now you've crossed the line. Now I'm going to do to you what you did to my sacred space and the sacredity of my land, and disrespecting my culture. And if he literally gives a physical reparation to Dijak and just whoops his ass in a match, then I would be like, okay, I still don't like that. But Eddie got his revenge. Eddie, you know, got payback, and Eddie got, you know, it was like, don't you dare disrespect the culture again. Then I'd be like, okay, I can see where this is coming from, but I still feel icky about what I saw in this. I was like, oh my gosh, bro. The subtext, I think, is worse than if he actually said something that was out of pocket. Like, if he said something that was out of pocket, I'll be like, oh, that's, I don't know what it is. Like, if somebody says something out of pocket out front, like, to me, it stings, but it stings less than the underlying tones and subtext of the actions that themselves. I was like, this felt worse to me.
Yes, and that's because the visual is worse than the word.
Right.
So, like, and I'll use this as an example, and it's just an example. Like, when you say the word slavery, it has a heaviness to it. But when you actually look at pictures of slavery, the image is far worse than the word. So, because, you know, he's saying these things, you know, for, you know, this, your spirits abandon you, and blah blah blah, and I was thinking, okay, I don't necessarily think I was like, ooh, because my whole thing was like, ooh, where's this going? The initial him saying, have your spirits abandoned you, did not hit me like, oh, that was a bad thing to say. Because it would be the same thing as if it's like, oh, did God abandon you in this situation, to like a white Christian? You know, and that doesn't bug me. It was the visuals. It's like, it was that visual that really disturbed me. And I was like, okay, and I will agree with you also in that if this is the moment, this is the what we would call in theater the anignoresis. This is when the character goes from ignorance to knowledge. Eddie going from his not ignorance, but basically the ignorance of the world to the knowledge of how the world is. And it changes him, you know, and because you can look at Eddie as sort of like the tragic hero.
Mm-hmm.
And so the tragic hero is going on his journey, and he has this anignoresis moment. And so from this point, if this is his anignoresis, from this point to whatever's going to happen next, this is his journey where he has to be true to himself. That's the thing. And I hope that's what happens. I hope Eddie stays true to himself and doesn't become sort of like savage idiot. Like, and becomes like everybody else. homogenizes, let's say. Um, he's got to stick to who he is, do what he believes is right, and basically serve justice. And I hope that's what happens. Now, I'm not saying as an educator that I hope Eddie gets a chance to literally whip Dijak. As an audience member, that's exactly what I want to happen.
Right.
I literally want him to whip him with his own belt. That's what I want. And not in a way that it's like what Dijak did, but I'm talking just whoop him with it. I mean, I don't care if he puts him across his knees and whoops his ass. I just want to see him whip him with that belt, because it's like,
right.
And if they don't, I'm going to be pissed, because they have intentionally made this belt a character in this story from the very beginning. So if they suddenly do this, whatever they're going to do with Eddie and Dijak next, and that belt doesn't come back, I'm going to be extremely pissed. Because do not introduce a third character like that and then don't give them a chance to basically play in the final scene. So I really, really hope Eddie gets the message and is basically like, okay, I'm coming. You have now awakened the warrior in me. You have desecrated my lands, and I'm coming for your colonizer ass. And I think that would be honorable. I think if he came at him, and I will not lie to you, if this happened, I would probably wet myself. If Eddie comes out there in full warrior makeup, like full on Native American, I don't know what his tribe is, but whatever it is, comes out in full warrior makeup in that match, I will literally wet myself. With, like,
You will need several cigarettes after.
Yes, because to me, that's the next logical step. The next logical step, because he tried to be the holy man. He tried to be the shaman. He tried to be that sort of like, I'm doing this for the spirits, and the spirits are guiding me. Absolutely. But now it's time for you to defend yourself and your peoples. You need to put the warrior on now. The warrior's got to come out. Yes, and you can't look at it as like, oh, I really kind of want this sort of, peace and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, that's how you get it. The warrior has to come out. You have to take out your enemies. That's how you live in peace. And so I really, really hope, I really do hope that that's what's happening here. I hope he comes out like the warrior and just annihilates this man. I really do. I really do.
Shawn Michaels, if you ever listen to this video, please, we don't mind. Please take this idea, because I think you have a golden opportunity for an amazing story point that people can talk about, and there's potential here. But we just gotta wait and see what happens. But man, as uncomfortable as I felt with this, like the potential of the direction of we're heading. Again, and I will still say this, please do not put this on regular weekly television. I want to see this at... You literally have a pay-per-view called No Mercy.
Mercy, yes.
So, yes, please let this match be on there.
Uh-huh.
Oh, see, this is why I needed a co-host, because this is what I've been missing in my life for NXT. Because, listen... This story has the potential to be put down as like a good story.
Oh my god, it has the potential to be epic.
Yes,
it really does. I am not even kidding you guys, and I'm not being stereotypical Native American anything, because there is Native American in my family, but I want him in full warrior gear. I want him to come out there ready to annihilate him. Like, I'm serious. Like, pay your tribute to the spirits. Give them their due, and then do it for your people, do it for the spirits, and then get in that ring and just destroy him. That's what I want. I want this.
Seriously.
I want this story arc. Something's coming because they have been building it in little bitty pieces, but they have been building something. And I really, really hope. And hashtag Eddie Thorpe. We got to do whatever we got to do. That's what it needs to be. I am not even kidding. I would literally, it would literally go down as my most favorite moment in wrestling so far if that happened, or something, or
Seriously.
some iteration of it happened like that.
Agreed.
I would be like, that's it. There it is. I could literally retire right now and go away, and I'd be like, I saw the most amazing moment in wrestling history in my entire life. That because it's just God. I hope. I mean, seriously. Hashtag Eddie Thorpe. It's like,
Oh man. And
Eddie, take
we
it, take it. It's yours. I don't want any credit. You don't have to give me credit for it. Take it, make it happen.
I'm gonna put a pin in this because I definitely want to record some sort of special. Like once we do get this match, then we could talk about it. Be like, all right, so this is what we thought. This is how it turned out. Let's talk about it and just
Yes,
do a
I
quick
agree.
like 10-15 minute video and just be like, here are our thoughts on Eddie. But we
Yeah.
got to keep going because
Yes,
man,
we do.
again, we could talk about this. This was great. And I was just like, ooh, okay, ideas are in my head. Please let this happen now. So to kind of end off hour one, because Lord have mercy, we talked at length about that last segment, which was great.
Yeah.
Backstage, we see Dominic walking with the North American Championship, and again having this weird interaction with Carmelo. And
Carmelo.
and then Carmelo's supposed to be kind of heelish, I guess. But like, I was kind of siding with him in this. Is like, bro, you are not the A champion. It's like, sir, you need to have several seats to Dominic. But essentially, all what this does is that it sets up that we're gonna get Dominic versus Carmelo in a non-title match next week. And then, we'll talk more about Carmelo because do we see somebody being in Carmelo's corner next week? And we'll talk about that in a little bit. And then, of course, we get our first interview segment with Becky Lynch from Mackenzie. And Becky revels in her time in NXT, but she says, I'm going to bring it to Tiffany, and Tiffany better be prepared. I'm so excited to talk about this main event
Yeah, me too.
when we get to it.
Yep.
But shortly after this interview, we kick off hour two with our first global heritage invitational match this night between Strong Boy Tyler Bate and the formerly known as A Kid, one of my favorite peoples right now, Axiom. God, this match ruled.
Mm-hmm.
This
This
match
was
ruled.
really good. I mean, Tyler is really good. Like, he's really good. I enjoy. I knew Axiom was because I've seen Axiom wrestle before. This is the first time I've really seen Tyler wrestle. Like, really,
Mm-hmm.
and he's really. This was a good match. It was an evenly dispersed match too. I thought they were very well positioned for each other. I thought that they were. I mean, they were like Matt. It was like hit to hit. I mean, it was good. I was very. I actually really got into this one.
I
Um,
know, and I love that we transitioned into different styles. Like there was a lot.
yeah.
We started with like your basic mat style of wrestling,
Mm-hmm.
grapples and things like that. Then we started picking up like the hard hitting moves. Then
Mm-hmm.
both of them went for the high flying stuff.
Yep.
Then we went into submissions things. But then of course, Axia, that sequence that Axiom pulled off to going from an Insigiri to a rolling Copa kick into a penalty kick sequence and still not enough to put Tyler down. I was like, that sequence was awesome.
Yep.
And then Tyler hitting, of course, the Spanish fly on Axiom was great. Sleeper holds, diving uppercuts, a poison Frankensteiner from Axiom where he got, legs went up over Tyler and then I was like, oh my God, that was so beautiful.
Oh, it was.
Man, the Tyler driver for the win. This I was upset that this match was like we only get 12-minute matches in this global heritage. I'm like, I wanted 15 minutes of this. This was great. But Tyler picks up a win. He gets 2 points on the board, so he finally has points on the board since technically this is his first match in this tournament. But Axiom does not get any points since he lost. So Axiom stays at the 1 point he got when he had a draw against Butch. This was great. I loved it so much. I wanted more time.
I wanted more of this one too. I actually have really enjoyed the Heritage Cup sort of like playoffs, or whatever. I really have enjoyed them. Like they're probably kind of my highlight. Like I look forward to them, and some of them are like, oh, okay, that was good, and then most of them have been pretty amazing actually. I was, because you've got a whole two sides of really good wrestlers on both teams.
Mm-hmm.
And so you're really kind of putting, the good to the good. I mean, because even the weaker wrestlers that have been fighting in them have been pretty damn good. Like they've held their own. And this one, man, it was literally hit for hit. And then some great moves. And then it was hit for hit. I mean, they were on fire, man. This match is probably one of my favorite of the secondary matches, if not my favorite. Actually, I'm going to go ahead and say it's my favorite of the secondary matches, even more so than a couple of the other ones that are coming up. But I like, and the reason that is because I thought that this match was so evenly like dispersed. Like they were, I didn't know who was going to win. And I love matches like that. I love matches where I have to keep guessing, because sometimes you have those matches where it's like, yeah, I know who's gonna win. I mean, it's like you know who's gonna win. But this one I legitimately didn't know. I did not know, because Axiom was I mean out of the gate. I mean, and he threw some killer moves at Bates. And there was a couple of times I thought, "Oop, that's it," and then of course, no, it wasn't. And then Tyler came back and did the same thing to Axiom, and it was like, holy shit! I was like, I'm very much like, I hate that you only get 12 minutes with this, because like this is a match I could have watched for longer.
Right.
I didn't get tired of it. Because in some of these matches you're like, okay, this is really good, but go ahead and someone pin somebody. Not this one. I was like, no, keep going. Give me more of it. Can we give them an extension? Let them go 15 minutes, because I'd be okay with that. It was
seriously.
It was so good, so good. And I have to say, what the hell was Noam Dar doing up there on that damn thing?
Okay.
What the fuck?
Okay, so let's talk about this, because as goofy and as dumb as that was, if every week we get the set up there to change into something, I am here for the nonsense.
Absolutely. It was like, was it an elephant?
Yeah, he had one of those inflatable costumes of him riding an elephant. It was, God. Oh my gosh.
It's like they theme them, and which is hilarious, because he was dressed up like someone riding an elephant, and the rest of them were like dressed in like what looked like safari garb. And I was like, what is this? I was like, you guys are so funny. Oh my God. Hilarious. So anyway, I just had to mention that, because, oh my God. I love Noam Dar. I love him. I'm not gonna lie. I absolutely love the guy, because he's just silly and serious. I mean, he knows when it's time to be serious and when it's time to be silly. And I love that his silly is so, even in like when he's like mouthing off to somebody, it's so silly. And I'm totally there for it. I just love him. So anyway, back.
This match was fun. We both wanted it to go on longer.
Yeah.
And it was great, and we'll get one more Global Heritage match tonight. But after this match was over, so we get this quick vignette from the Schism. We talk about how the roots of their tree are decaying now, and so they have to do everything to exercise it out. I was just like, Joe Gacy, I can't take you seriously in these sunglasses, bro. But this was a weird segment. It was like 30 seconds, but I was just like, okay, so like what's gonna happen?
This is one of those moments that I was like, what is this? Because there was nothing else leading up to it. Like there was nothing previous in the episode that even hinted at this existential crisis that he was having. And I was just like, and then after it, I was like, what was I supposed to get from that?
Like we didn't get no Lita because the last time we saw
Nothing.
these guys was during the cage match like weeks ago.
Yeah.
And they haven't been on TV since, and then we
No.
get this. I was like, this was weird, you guys.
I mean,
Like this was
we
weird.
literally have had no backstage stuff with them, no video packages with them, and then all of a sudden we get this talking about the roots of their tree and how it's dying or dead or whatever the hell. And then I was like, are you telling me that you're going to go back to your roots? I mean, or you need to cut the tree down and start over. I I, I don't know.
It was
I
too generalized, and that's why
yeah.
I didn't really like it.
No, it didn't make any damn sense. It was just like, because I didn't know
Well,
what you wanted me to know.
exactly. Well, and then what also didn't make sense as soon as this was over, apparently Trick was watching this. I was just like, why is Trick Williams of all people watching this? You know what? Like I was like, okay, I'm not gonna harp on it too long. Now so this segment was a great use of having a scene play in front of me, but also there was a secondary scene happening in the background. So we'll talk about both in a little. We'll talk about both right now. So in the foreground of like this primary scene, Carmelo walks in and he and Trick have this conversation about how you know Trick says that he can relate to the schism in terms of like, having to start anew, I guess, or whatever. And Carmelo's like, bro, what does that mean? And basically, these two kind of have a heart to heart where Trick's like, bro, I've got your back. Do you still believe in me as I do you? And man, Carmelo kept dodging the question and he's like, "Oh yeah, sure, we're fine," like and everything. And Trick is like, "Hey man, like, do you want me to have your back when you go up against Dominic next week? Because the Judgment Day is going to stick their nose into this business, and I want to be there to help even the odds." And then the ultimate shutdown for me happened because Mello tells Trick, he's like, "Nah, man, I'm good. Like, I got this." I'm like, I was like, "No, not Trick Williams. Don't do this to him, Carmel." Okay, I think Trick is gonna show up. He will be the equalizer, but then I think Carmelo's gonna start getting pissed. It's like, bro, I told you not to come out there. I ultimately think that this is going to implode either before or at No Mercy. And this might end up being a short feud where Carmelo and Trick fight each other. I was like, listen, Carmelo, bro, you need to take down your ego a couple of
Or,
notches.
or,
Uh huh.
or, which I would be here for, is if at No Mercy, Trick causes him to lose the match.
And Ilya wins. Oh my god. Listen, I'm kind of
I
here for it.
would be here for that. And you know what? And Carmelo would freaking deserve it. That's the thing. Because this whole thing with him, he has been rude to all of his allies. Every ally he has been dismissive and rude to them. And no one more than Trick. I mean,
Who's
he
the
has
homie?
been, yes, he has been absolutely horrible to him. And I was getting a little angry with it because I was like, Trick, you need to wake up. This man does not care about you. Does not care about you. Stop trying to win his affections. Stop it. You're acting like a battered housewife. Truly. And I'm just like, you need to go and you need to like find people who are going to give a shit about you, who
Yes.
actually want you to be successful. Carmelo doesn't want you to be successful because he doesn't want you to be better than he is. That is Carmelo's issue. He wants everyone to believe and know, or no, not believe. He wants everyone to know that he is the best. And he can't have someone who could potentially be better than him in his spotlight. And that's why I'm very much like, something needs to happen here. And either to knock Carmelo off his high horse or for him to realize, oh shit, I actually have good friends who actually want to be here for me. Oh, wait, I've been a total dick to them. Sorry, guys, I won't do that anymore. One of those two things need to happen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I think it needs to happen at No Mercy. I really do. Because why do it on a regular episode? It needs to happen in like a grand scale. I mean, he either needs to be super embarrassed by something or he needs to literally be buried by Ilya and his quote unquote allies who he has alienated. And yeah.
I love that. I love it.
Yep. Yeah, telling you.
So that was happening in the foreground, but
Yeah.
then let's talk about what was happening in the background, bro. So as these two are having this conversation, Wes is in the background. Like Wes is like sulking because he lost. I was like, you know, that I can see that, Wes.
Mm-hmm.
But then like the breadcrumbs started to get planted and put there for what happens later in the episode. Wes is taking stuff out of his locker, like he's throwing stuff away in the trash. And then what broke my heart is he took his nameplate off at the top and threw it in the trash, and then just and the scene ended with him dragging the trash can off
Yeah.
screen. I'm like, oh, Wesley, what is that? No, Wesley, what are we doing? Oh my gosh,
It was heartbreaking.
My heart was hurting, Will, and
I
then
know.
we don't have to wait for it for long once we get through these next couple of segments. But oh my gosh. Wes, you broke my heart tonight, and we'll talk about it when we get there. But I was just like, oh, the tease that we got made me sad. And you know, we'll talk about it in a little bit. So really quickly, I do want to get through the next couple of things because they were fine, but you know, everything weirdly it was fine. So next we got a quick match between the Creed brothers taking on Malik Blade and Idris Enofe. No surprise here that the Creed brothers won. This was a short match. The important thing that came out of this match, though, is it seems that we're going to get Creeds versus Los Lotharios, which I am here for. I still think the three
like everybody came out there. It was like,
listen, the 3-part telenovela series will go down this year as one of my favorite things. It was so dramatic and I loved it. But then on the entrance ramp, we have, again, I love this tag team name because it's so himbo-y. I love them. Is Hank and Tank.
Yeah.
You know, on the ramp, and then they literally get jumped by the squad of Lucian Pierce and Bronco. I was just like, what? With Reggie yelling for them to fight, I was just like, so I love this. We get probably 2 separate tag team feuds between Pierce and Bronco and Hank and Tank, and then the Creeds taking on Los Lotharios. But then I'm like, okay, so where does that leave the family? Like, what is happening? Because like, I was surprised we didn't get them at any point tonight.
Yeah, they were.
I was like, we got them last week in the Diamond Dojo, but like, okay. I was like, so are these titles going to be defended at No Mercy, or you know? Okay, well, I guess we got 2 weeks, so I guess we'll wait and see.
Wait, didn't we got a short video clip of them?
Did we?
It was like it was going, and it was a picture in picture. It was a little screen, and it said, and he mentioned, he's like, oh look, you know, the family's watching on, and they were like watching.
Oh, that's right. You're right. Yeah. Okay, it was so quick. I think I went and like I turned around to get some water, and then I turned back, and the match was going. So I must have missed that part.
It was very quick. I mean, it was very fast.
Okay, so then never mind. It seems that we might get some sort of match at No Mercy for the tag titles, and I'm here for it. So then, oh, God, listen, I know they're on good terms, but if this is a match we're going to get down the line, I would love it. So backstage, Becky is like chilling. She's like amping herself up, and who walks in but Lyra Valkyria? My God, William. Now, what the result of what happened at the end? If they give me Becky versus Lyra at some point, I think
Ooh.
I may need multiple towels because I will be drenched.
Yeah. Yeah.
That is a
I
match I
agree.
want to see so bad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, and I forget, I was like, oh crap, I forget that these two have histories in the UK, British, and just European wrestling scene in general, just like Rhea has those ties with Lyra too. This was such a nice pace. I was like, oh, these girls to fight. Don't fight. These are my two girls right now. But they love each other. And oh my God, it was so great. And Lyra encourages Becky that she can do it. I was like, Lyra is such a sweetheart. Please don't turn her heel, WWE.
I hope not either, because I really like
I
Lyra.
I love her sweet and kindness to it. And of course her accent's great. I
Oh
love
yeah.
it.
Oh yeah.
Okay, speaking of accents though, this next segment too. So this is where my Latino heart exploded with pride because we start off with Roxanne Perez, talking to the new girls about what to expect in the women's breakout tournament and the fact that the winning this tournament changed Roxanne's life because she won. She got that title opportunity against Mandy Rose at the time, who was, the women's champion.
Uh-huh.
And then Roxanne beat her for the title. And then literally women's champion, women's tag team champion, having a baller match at a Great American Bash against Blair. Like the trajectory of winning that tournament is great. And then walking in is my Latinas. I love them so much. Electra Lopez and Lola walk in and have this interaction with Roxanne. See, I'm a simple man. When my wrestlers go back and forth from English to Spanish, like I immediately give it a 10 out of 10. But literally, I love that Electra and Lola try to intimidate Roxanne, and she was not having it. She was
No, she
not
wasn't.
having
I
it.
was loving it.
She's like, I invite the chaos. And Lola's like, pero escúchame, mami. I was just like, if you're not careful, I will wipe I'm going to wipe the floor with you. And I'm like, yes, I'm here for smack talk. This is what I want to see.
In another language. I loved it. I was like, yes.
And I love that Roxanne did not back down.
No,
and I was
she
just
did
like,
not.
yes, Roxanne, this is what I want to keep seeing. I want
This is
you
what
to
I
not
love
be
about her. Yeah.
keep being unafraid to be challenging these hoes left and right.
Yeah, Roxanne, she's one of my favorites. I love her. And yeah, when they come, and the funny thing is that like Lola, they're
Tall girls.
They are tall. I was like, wow, they're tall. Jeez. And Roxanne was like, what you gonna do? I was like, get them, girl, get them.
That's why Roxanne is one of my favorites.
Yes,
love her so
I love
much.
her. She didn't take shit off of anybody, and I love that.
Nope.
I love that. You're gonna talk the talk. You better walk the walk. And
seriously,
I love you so much.
I'm excited for this tournament. I can't wait to see what the brackets look like. I hope they give us some good matches, which I know they will.
They will, yeah.
I'm excited to see the brackets and who ends up where. This is going to be fun. This next match was kind of, I don't want to say it was a nothing match, but I was just like, yeah, okay, like it was expected. So, and I was kind of disappointed because I like Akira Tozawa. And, but this was a short match, and Nathan it was like 80-20 in terms of offense. Like Nathan really had this in the bag. Akira Tozawa kind of got some offense in, but Nathan ran away with it and picked up the victory. Yeah, he scored another 2 points, and poor Akira has lost every single match that he has had so far in this tournament, and he has no points. I'm like, Akira.
Yeah, because I really like him, but I knew. See, I know that they are working Nathan Fraser up this ladder. Slowly but surely, they're working him up this ladder again, because I really think they're going to put him against Dar
in a rematch, no less.
Really do. I think that's what's going to happen, and I'm totally here for it. But because I was like, because Fraser was struggling at the beginning, he was, and then then this happened, and this, and to me, and I will agree with you. I feel that this was a throwaway match. Like we need to put him against someone, and we need him to win quick to get him up this ladder, and because that's which is exactly what it did, and I think that I think it was a little bit of a disservice to Akira that it was sort of like literally treating him like cannon fodder. Like
Yeah.
we're gonna put you and you're gonna lose every single match. And I'm just like, I mean, give him a
I'm just
draw
like,
at least. Give him a draw.
Seriously.
But
I don't know, man. Poor Akira. Like, he has no hope at this point because there's only 2
no,
weeks left,
yeah, there's
and
no
literally
way.
next. Now, I am interested to see what happens because Duke Hudson. Well, so Joe Coffey and the rest of the Gallus boys get interviewed after this match, right?
I
And
love
then Duke
this.
is in the background, and then kind of comes up into frame, as Joe is giving this. And then Duke said something that really interests me. It's like, I hate to bust your bubble, but if I beat you and I get 2 points, then there'll be a 3-way tie between me, you, and Nathan in our block. So it'll be a triple threat to see who wins. And I was like, yes,
Uh-huh.
if I listen, a
All
triple
three of
threat
those men.
between Nathan,
Absolutely.
Joe, and Duke is something I want to see. And
That
honestly, I
is,
think that would be a great story to tell because Duke and Joe are really big boys.
ladies and
And
gentlemen, this will be a panty wetter, I guarantee.
and Nathan is the small, fast, tiny boy.
But
And
all
so
three
he
of
will
them
have to.
are sexy as fuck.
Yes. Again, prepare to have towels on standby.
Good. And this was a funny little moment too. This really kind of made me like Hudson more. Was this little moment, and I'm actually I even in the moment earlier when he was talking, they were talking about my location service is off or whatever. I've really kind of gotten to the point where I kind of like his goofy ass.
He's
You
so
know,
endearing.
yes, he is, and he carries that little trophy around with, well, not little, but that trophy around him like a security blanket. I expect to, I
Literally
truly
like
expect
Linus.
every once in a while, I expect to see him like in a corner sucking his thumb. I really do. I'm just like the camera's gonna just catch a glimpse, and he's over there just sort of like,
Again,
just having a grand old
The
time.
Linus of NXT. Oh my gosh. And then Thea, it's like the trope of like the big himbo gentle giant that Duke Hudson, and Thea is like the tiny feisty one that balances him out. But the tiny feisty one's not with him. Oh my gosh, what if he gets so sad?
I
Oh.
know. It's like, oh, like he sees that they're not besties anymore. I'm just gonna be like, oh,
Oh my
yeah,
gosh, if that's a story where like Duke gets depressed, I was just like
yes, I'm here
I
for
was
it.
like, "Oh my gosh, it's so silly." But yeah, Duke said that and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I think we might get a triple threat to see
Which would
who
be
takes their
awesome.
block." I still think that the finals not next week, but in 2 weeks to determine the number 1 contender, I think Nathan is winning his block, but then I'm like, I think Tyler's probably going to win his block, but I would love to see Axiom sneak out or a win here.
Yeah,
I don't. I will say though, when we get to the bumpers, I was hooping and hollering for the matches that we are going to get next week for this global heritage.
yeah.
So we'll talk about that in a little bit. So next, I'm gonna compile these three because like literally we kind of get Becky's entrance, and then like, once again they cram. We get part of Becky's entrance, then we cram a bunch of backstage stuff, and then we get to the rest of Becky's entrance, and then we get the bumpers before like halfway through the entrance too. But so backstage, Mackenzie is with Mustafa Ali, who has had a 180 in his character direction, which was weird, but I'm okay with that. So he's excited, and we did get confirmation, which we'll talk about in a little bit, about how this match is going to go. But Mustafa Ali talks about how he was literally saying, "Oh, they weren't booing for me; they were booing for Dominic." And I'm like, you know what, Mustafa, you might be right, but I also think they might be booing you because
You
Dragon
as
Lee is
well.
so
Yeah.
over. But Dragon comes in and Mustafa's like, "Hey, you know what, bud? I'm gonna, go chill. I'm gonna see what happens." And Dragon Lee's like, "I'm not done with him." To Mackenzie, I was like, "Listen,
Well, I
Dragon
mean,
Lee was
when he
yes,
tells Ali, he's like, He's like, that count was really fast, don't you think? And then, man, he just sort of
Kind of
like,
try to sweep it under the rug.
he's like, I can't really say if it was fast or not, you know? And I'm like, dude, you
See,
got that.
I have a prediction. I think Mustafa takes the title off of Dominic, and then we get Mustafa versus Dragon as a feud, and I'm kind of here for it.
Oh, yeah, that would be great.
So I'm excited for that. Okay, and then I started crying at this next one. So this is where Wes, like the camera person, catches up with Wes. It's like, Wes, it was just like, tough loss for you tonight. So what's next for you? And Wes is like, I cleared out my locker. It's like I don't know what the journey heads for me next, but all I know is I told myself if I lost, I'm going home. And so then he walks up to so I come to find out that's his wife, like that's Wes's wife. So he kisses, he's like, I'm going home, opens the door, and as he's leaving, we hear as he's walking away, he's like, I'm done. And
Yeah.
then I was like, no,
No, I
Wes,
know.
no.
I was like, what? I was like, no, you are
Okay.
not.
So I have a bone to pick with the internet wrestling community because a lot of people are like, oh, this means that Wes is going to go up to the main roster. Now, hear me out, you guys. This is a hot take. As much as I would love to see Wes on the main roster eventually, I
He's
don't
not ready
want
for
him
it
to
yet.
go right now because I feel like he should at least get one NXT championship run. Like he should have one title reign for that championship. He made the North American Championship one of the greatest titles to have since he earned it last year at Halloween Havoc. And he's had banger after banger title defenses for that match and elevated it. I want him to at least get one main championship reign before he goes up to main roster. And I know everyone wants him to be a part of the Street Profits and Bobby Lashley's faction. I was like, first of all, you guys, we talked about this. We don't always need to put all the black wrestlers in one
Yeah.
faction. Like, I'm tired of that trope. It sucks.
Yep.
But selfishly, I want Wes to have one title reign at least before he goes to main roster. So I know people want him on main roster. I disagree with you, internet wrestling community, because I don't think that's a great idea. I want him to stay in NXT and have one NXT championship reign. Then he can go to main roster after that. But I think it's a crime against wrestling and humanity if Wes isn't the main champion of NXT, especially everything that this man has gone through since signing, from being a tag champion to his tag team partner being let go by the company, then getting jobbed out for a couple weeks, and then finally getting the push. And Shawn Michael loves this kid. Like Shawn loves Wes. And so I'm hoping that this is just a ploy. And I don't want Wes to leave NXT because right now I was just like, you can't leave because Wes, you're the only other competition that Carmelo and Ilya have right now. Because if you leave, that just leaves those two, and nobody else has been primed and ready. I mean, listen, Eddie and Dijak can also be in this championship picture once they're done with their feud. But Wes, don't leave me. No. I was starting to cry. And then the emotional whiplash happened because then all of a sudden we hear girls are fighting in the background. And so Blair Davenport is getting her shit rocked because Gigi's like, oh, hell no. And literally, like, pulls her hair and is like doing this maneuver.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
was like, the girls are fighting.
Yep. And then, yeah, and I'll give it to him. That was a good way to break up that sort of
Sadness.
sadness. I mean, it really was. It was good because it was like, because you don't want to. I mean, you don't want to end on that and then go into the main event. I mean, you want something to kind of, and then I think it worked. I do, and I don't think this is the end for Wes. I
don't think so either. But damn it, he made me feel sad.
Oh, he did. He made me feel so sad. I was so mad. I was so angry, and because I was like, and I was angry at him too because I was like, don't walk out of this a loser. Because that's what you're doing. By walking away, you're a loser. And you are not a loser, dude. You are not a loser. But you're literally walking away because you're like, oh, well, I can't win. Yes, you can. First of all, you got to get out of your emotions. You got to get out of all that shit.
Get out of your head.
Yeah, it can't be about you defeating Carmelo. It can't be about that because you'll never defeat yourself. Never. It's got to be about, I want this so bad that I am going to focus myself. I am going to train. I am going to get myself where I need to be, and then I'm going to take that title. That's what you need to be doing. Fuck Carmelo. He's insignificant. Truly. Ilya, too. In your journey, it's about you. I always tell my actors, I was like, no matter what role you play in a show, you as an actor, you have to believe that your character is the most important character in the play. I don't care if you are like spear holder number 4 or you are like the lead. Your character has to be the most important character. And Wes needs to believe that he is the most important person in his journey. He's letting other people live in his space for free. Kick them out. And then get your ass back in the ring, dude. And that's why I was like there was so many emotions flying. I was so sad because I love Wes. And I was like, I don't like seeing him like this. And I hate that he's like packing his shit and leaving. And then he walks out that door and I was so mad because I was like, you are giving up. And if you go to the main roster, you're a quitter. I'm sorry, you are. Truly, because you literally like, oh, I couldn't hack it in there. So what the hell? First of all, why do you think you're going to hack it at the main roster if you couldn't hack it at NXT? Come on.
Serious.
So yeah, I was so mad.
What I would love to see happen, because we did get to see Mrs. Lee on the television screen. I would love for there to be some sort of like film segment where she's like literally do a movie trope. I'm cool with it, where she's like, babe, I was like, you've worked way too hard to give up now. Like literally, this is the Rocky and the Creed movies where the significant other is literally the person's like, babe, you need to do this for you. And you need to go back in there and show them what's what. Prove to them that you are that champion and that you have come too far to quit and give a listen, if this is the direction we're going with, and I would, oh my God, that would be beautiful storytelling, even if it is like the clichéest of tropes. I would love for that to be the thing. It's like she gives Wes the pep talk. He comes in, is like, I want one more shot at this. And then that be the one where he wins. Like, I will cry. I will cry if that's the direction.
I agree with you. And I would be okay with that trope as well. Because, yeah, it's like, because he went and he did that whole, I'm going to go find myself, journey, wherever that was. And it's like, you obviously didn't find yourself. Because you're looking in the wrong places.
Yes.
You're looking in the wrong places. You're looking for yourself in other people. Stop looking for yourself in other people. Find yourself in yourself. That's where it's at. That's where you're strongest. Is here, man. That's all. I just want to take him and I want to shake him and be like, you're stronger than this. You're better than this.
And then I want to give him a hug afterwards. Yes. I'm like, it's okay. Like, it's okay.
And if it's okay with, with his wife, maybe cuddle him a little bit. I don't know.
And then, me and you will cry with him together.
Yes.
Yeah, I hope this. Cry. I don't think this is the end of Wes, but man, he made me really sad.
Yes, he did.
And then, of course, I'm on the other side of the spectrum. Gigi versus Blair is a feud. Yes, absolutely here for that. We get the bumpers for next week. So Dominic versus Carmelo. Roxanne versus Lola is going to be great. I'm excited. Listen, I just want them to shit talk each other in Spanish. Like, that will make me the happiest man on the planet. And then we get to the main event. Big time, the man, the Irish lass kicker herself, Becky Lynch, making her grand return to where it all started for her, NXT, taking on Tiffany Stratton, Barbie Quinn, as we call her around these parts, for the NXT Women's Championship. Yes, this match was a little bit shorter than I wanted because it was like 13, 14 minutes. I wish they went longer. But my God, Becky kicked ass. Tiffany kicked ass. This was a really beautiful showing for Tiffany because she went toe to toe with the probably the biggest women that wrestler that WWE has on their current roster right now, I would say. Listen, I love Charlotte. She is a Flair. Of course, she has that legacy of being Ric Flair's daughter, but Becky is probably your biggest homegrown WWE women's wrestler right now on the roster. Oh my god, this match was great. I love the fact that Tiffany had an answer to a lot of Becky's like usual maneuvers, which I loved because it showed me that that Tiffany did her homework. Becky also gets my kudos because then butt cheeks must be hurting because when she tried to do, the leg drop onto Tiffany, that table did not break.
Oh, I know. I was like, wow, that table is like serious today.
Literally, Becky bounced off of it. And I was like, damn. But I was like, as we get to the finishing sequence, I was like, oh, okay, it's gonna be a hard fought battle, but Tiffany is going to, retain here. So then, this finishing sequence, Becky tries to go for the manhandle slam. It gets denied, which allows Tiffany for a schoolboy roll up for a 2 count. And then Tiffany sets up Becky with the Finlay roll to set up a moonsault, but Becky gets out of the way as Tiffany performs the prettiest moonsault. And then Becky literally gets her into the disarm her. No, not to the disarm her, the manhandle slam again. 1, 2, 3. Your winner and new NXT Women's Champion, Becky Lynch. So she's finally won the NXT Women's Championship, which is the only title she has not won in NXT. So now she is a Grand Slam champion with the other 4 horsewomen of Charlotte Flair, Bayley, and then Sasha Banks, who is now in New Japan as Mercedes Moné. This match was great. I'm surprised that Tiffany lost.
Yeah.
But and listen, like I want Barbie Quinn to hold the title for a long period of time, but you know what? Tiffany has done the one thing that most of these women on the NXT roster have not yet done, and she went toe to toe with the biggest women's wrestler and held her own in a championship match. Like the Rocket, to me, that match proved that WWE, Shawn Michaels, NXT is ready to strap this Rocket on Tiffany, and this girl is about to create an amazing legacy. I'm still sad she lost, but my God, Becky being in NXT opens so many possibilities. Like immediately, Becky versus Lyra, Becky
Yeah.
versus
Oh, yeah.
Roxanne, Becky
There's so
versus
many.
Blair. Oh my God.
Oh, wow.
Listen, I would wet myself. That would be
I
a wet
know.
dream.
I know. I to say the least, I was shooketh because I was when Tiffany lost. When I was mourning my Barbie Quinn, because I love her, but but the man won fair and square. I'm like, I give no ill anything, because if it had been like shady, I would have been like, but she won that fair and square. She did. And if Tiffany can't see that, then Tiffany's got an issue. But I mean, truly, and I mean, you can create a rivalry and an animosity. That's great, but you have to respect your opponents, because especially if they play fair. The ones that don't play
Mm-hmm.
fair, then absolutely not. But she played fair, and she won that match, equally matched against Tiffany, because those two women were on each other. I mean, again, this was a hit for hit match, guys. I mean, there was no weak link here. It was literally, I was like, I don't know who's going to win this match. I really don't. I was hoping it would be my Barbie Quinn, because I just don't really know Becky Lynch that well. But I was probably about maybe a about a third in, maybe, and I was like, ooh, I don't know where this match is going. I don't know, because they were both doing some. It was a brutal match. It was brutal, and you could tell that this was a I hate you bitch match. And I mean, you could feel every move, like when Tiffany was jumping off those ropes at her, and the kicks to the face, and I mean, all of it felt like I hate you, bitch.
There was one particular part where I felt that more than anything, and it looked brutal when Tiffany did the double stomp to Becky's face and like
Oh
actually
my
landed on her
god,
face. I was like, "Oh God, no, Becky, we can't be breaking her face here,
I
Tiffany. I love you."
know.
But
I was like,
ooh, that looked so painful.
that was brutal. That's when I actually wrote the note brutal because I was like, oh my god, and it was beautiful though. God, it was a beautiful move. But I was like, these women want to destroy one another. They wanted to destroy one another. It was no, oh hey, let's do a little girl fight. No, it was like, I'm gonna kill you.
I'm gonna murder you.
I thought there for one moment, because they did a close up on Tiffany and she was doing all of this. I thought she had blood. I was like, oh my god, are we gonna see blood? Because if we saw blood, I was gonna be like, hell yes. And because it would be like Tiffany going, I can't believe it's be like her going, oh my god, I broke a nail. Now I have to kill you. It's that sort of thing. And I was hoping, when she was like doing that, I thought, oh my god, did she have blood on her hand? But it wasn't. She was just like, oh, that hurt. Oh, ow, ow, ow. But I thought for sure it was like, oh my god, you made me bleed. And I was so into this match, and because this is I watched this one at home because I sent you a text going, hey, I'm in the main event, and then it was like radio silence.
I was just like, oh, Will's enjoying this match. Like, not to say that I never say when Will texts me like during while he's watching the show that he's not enjoying it.
Oh no,
But when he
it's
was
yeah.
quiet for this, I was like, absolutely, that is the
Oh my
right
god.
response to this because you are
Oh my
so
god.
enthralled and just
Oh
staring at the amazement of
yes.
listen. And I want to talk about this real quick. So I mean, this match ruled. We came to the end of the show. Uh, but I want to address the internet wrestling community just a tiny bit, okay? So it is no secret that our other Biconics host, Luis, if you don't already, go follow him on TikTok. He has some great stuff. Now, I love Luis because he's not afraid, just like my other co-hosts, all of us here, me to a certain extent. We say what's on our mind and we don't care what nobody says. And I'm going to bring up a point that my hermano Luis brought up today that the internet wrestling community needs to stop hating on women's wrestling because it is getting ridiculous, especially because people are saying that this win for Becky Lynch does nothing for her. And I was like, are you fucking kidding me? I
They
was like,
said
did we
that?
not? Yes, they're like, oh, this title reign does nothing for her. Her winning does nothing for her because, So here's the thing. I've said this to my co-host on multiple occasions off screen, and even when he first expressed interest in being my co-host for NXT reviews, NXT always gets looked at as a developmental, which it is because we're developing the stars for the future. But because now this iteration is seeing like some of the main roster stars come down and put in some work down here, a lot of the internet wrestling community views that when main roster stars go to NXT, that it is a demotion because they have to work with the developmental kids. I'm like, that is all kinds of messed up. I was like,
That's
nobody
bullshit.
was saying. Well, and here's the thing. I was just like, you guys, nobody was complaining about this when it was the black and gold era of NXT, which created stars like Karrion Cross and Finn Balor and, all of the main roster stars like Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano. Like Black and Gold, nobody had an issue with it. But now when it became the Nickelodeon Splash Zone, as I like to call it, when they changed colors to like this paint orangey splatter thing, everyone has a problem with it. And I was like, how dare you tell me that this is a demotion for Becky? She came down here and she won a title that she has never won. And she grew up in the NXT system. Like, listen, I'm like, Becky, to a certain extent, like,
I know they probably sent her down here, but I'm pretty sure she doesn't have an issue with, working with this talent. She came from NXT and she understands the importance that NXT has in developing the future stars like Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair, like all the stars that are currently big right now on main roster all came from NXT. So I'm just like, the internet wrestling community needs to sit down. They tell, and like Tiffany doesn't lose anything either, and that's what made me more mad. Is that, oh, this is NXT burying Tiffany because she lost the title. I'm like, listen, you don't always need to have a title to be a big star. Like Tiffany just went toe to toe with the one of the biggest women's in current modern wrestling history right now, and she held her own. And it was a good back and forth. And you could tell Tiffany did her homework and she studied because she had answers for Becky that you can only know if you actually studied the tape and you worked beforehand with Becky for certain sequences. So, internet wrestling community, I need you to have several seats. Shut up and stop always attacking the women because I'm so sick of it because the women have been attacked so much this week between the return of Nia Jax on Monday Night Raw to bashing Tiffany and Becky. Everyone needs to shut up and have several seats. Thank you for coming to my women's TED Talk.
Well, you know what? And I'm gonna jump on it too, because let me tell you something. In all things in this world, we can learn from one another. I have a master's degree in theater administration and theater management. And let me tell you, I have learned things from people who do not have a master's in what I do because they're doing something innovative. I want to be a part of it. That does not mean that I am demeaning myself or I am demoting myself or any of that. Are you kidding me? Becky Lynch coming back to NXT to fight Tiffany is not a step down. It is indeed a step up in her career because she's now come to NXT and fought against Tiffany, who was a badass bitch up in that ring and held that belt. So, and then she comes and fights Tiffany in this badass match and barely wins. I want to reiterate that. Barely wins that match. Tiffany and her were so evenly matched. And you are right, Mikey. She did her homework. That is not a demotion, or that is an absolute step up. She has now come to NXT and has learned something. Tiffany has learned something. We are growing. They are growing as performers. They are growing in their art. Do not demean them for coming down and going down with the kids. That is some bullshit. Because let me tell you, and this might be a hot take, I think there's a lot of talent in NXT that could give a lot of the main roster folks a run for their money.
Absolutely.
I am not, and that is especially in women's wrestling. And the people who have a problem with women's wrestling are probably like 40-year-old virgins. Shut up. Well, I don't know if a woman's ever touched you or not, and they probably won't with that attitude. These women work their asses off, and they deserve the credit that they have earned. And this is the thing, and I want you all to listen. These women aren't handed anything. These women earn it. Every women's match that I have watched since I have been here, every one of them, even the really, really short ones, which, there shouldn't ever be any short ones because the women's matches are so much better. Every single match that these women have fought, they have fought their hearts out. They have earned their places. So we need to start giving them the credit that they are due and start putting them in places and in spots on the main, whatever the main ticket's going on. They need to be in better spots. And I am sick and tired of the 5-minute matches. Give them the full time. Let them have their moments. Because let me tell you, if you put down your bigotry and actually watch a women's match and not be afraid of the women, you might actually enjoy it. Because I can tell you right now, I'm a big old homosexual, and I love the women's matches. I love them more than the men's matches. And you would think, what, William? But you're a big old gay man. You're damn right I am. And yes, those men are fine. But let me tell you, I will buy a ticket for $1,000 to see a women's match before I will a men's match. I'll tell you that right now. I don't care who it is, because these women, they are fighting their asses off. They are working. They are working. The men are given shit because that's the society we live in. These women need to be given their due. They need to be given better spots on the ticket. They need to be given longer matches. And we need to have better storylines, because the storylines that we have for a lot of these women are far better than some of the men's storylines. Mm-hmm. And the other thing I don't want anymore is I don't want the stereotype bullshit anymore, like the mean girl trope, or the women can only be good wrestlers because they're bitches. I'm like, look at Roxanne. I'm going to use her as an example. I love Roxanne. I love her. One, she speaks her mind, and immediately she's a bitch. Because she speaks her mind and she tells it how it is. And that is the stupidest fucking thing I have ever heard. Because a woman comes out and she speaks her mind and she speaks her truth, and little penis men can't handle that. They cannot handle a woman telling them that this sport that is so manly, by the way, is super gay. But they can't handle a woman saying, I am a better wrestler than that dude is. Because I can tell you right now, if you put some of these women in the ring with some of these men, they would be whooping their asses. So shut up. Until you get in that ring with one of them, shut your mouth. Done.
And you know what? I think that is a perfect way to end this episode.
Indeed.
Like, we don't need to go into the ratings or anything. We just want the internet wrestling community to do better, because the main event was phenomenal. And yes, we had some issues with the overall pacing of this episode, and some things were weird. But the important takeaway is not necessarily how we rate this episode, but literally, we here at the Biconics love women's wrestling. We support women's wrestlers, and we all have stated multiple times across multiple reviews, both on TV and in the pay-per-views, the women sometimes carry the shows because they have phenomenal matches and they're always great. So do better, internet wrestling community. But that is going to bring us to the end of this week's NXT review, unfortunately. But when we come back, we got 2 more weeks until No Mercy. So we have 2 more weeks of shows to build towards this grand NXT No Mercy pay-per-view on September 30th. If you like what we do here at the Biconics and you like these long-form reviews, we pretty much cover every single weekly television show as well as the pay-per-views. You can see all of us, and you're going to want to stay tuned for the next 2 weeks because we're just growing. You're going to see 2 new faces, but I'm not going to tell you. That's all I'm going to tell you. You're going to see 2 new faces be popping up in the next couple of weeks, and I'm excited for it. You can follow us all, BC WrestleProd, across all of the social medias to stay up to date when these videos go live. And, just some behind the scenes shenanigans. And then you can follow us where all podcasts can be found at Biconics Wrestling Podcast, where we continue to go off on all sorts of topics. It is a fun time. But to Will, I am so happy to be here. We talked about some really, really fun stuff this week. This was a good episode. I loved it.
It was. I agree. Absolutely.
And from me and Will, the hosts of Los Chicos Gordos, Too Legit to Thick, as now we are calling ourselves here on the NXT review. And for all the rest of the Biconics boys, remember, until the next review, take care of yourself, love one another, and support women's wrestling. But until next review, we'll see you later. But until then, ta-ta for now.